All right, so today is Thursday, January the 9th, 2025. The time is now 12:50, ready for our PD, okay, and our teacher collaboration. So our agenda for today is the third, fourth, and fifth grade ELA teachers, along with our instructional coordinator and our content lead teacher. All right, so Ms. Jones, you're here.
I'm here.
All right, and Ms. Martin here.
Here.
Yours truly, and we have also Ms. Dunn and Ms. Alexander. Okay, so today for our coming planning, our topic is going to be unpacking the upcoming unit to where we all will start with the end in mind. In this session, we will look at our section goals. Miss Jones, can you read the first bullet point?
Okay. Develop a shared understanding of the end goals of our next unit by unpacking.
Okay, Ms. Mark, you read the next one.
Review the writing prompt and student exemplar for the culminating writing task.
Okay, and we'll also identify the knowledge and skills students will need in order to be successful in the upcoming unit. Okay, so since we do have our materials that are needed, our unit study tool, I know we have a digital copy, and we also have our unit's evaluation plan. Okay, so all of our pre-work that we do have from our upcoming unit, we do have our teacher manual, we have our student workbook that we'll use also with our planning, and also a copy of our student unit tool, which do have a digital copy. Okay, so I'm gonna start with our bell ringer. So we'll kind of start off with our glows and our grows as far as the from our standpoint as a teacher. So let's start off with our glows and grows, and we'll start backwards. We'll start with the fifth grade. What are some at least one or two glows and one or two areas you think that your kids might need to grow as we hit this third unit?
Okay. I would say a glow with my students with the third unit would be they understand the point of view. That's kind of hard, heavy hitting when dealing with the culminating writing task. They have to write that in the end. They also understand, I guess, the basic knowledge of the text whenever we're reading. They're more intrigued in it, and you want to know what's next, and just basically trying to figure out how which goes which. A grow would be with my students. I would say in writing, I want to focus more on them, understanding their sentences and the structure of the sentence and how we can basically make that into our multi-paragraph essay that we will do.
Okay, yeah, I kind of agree. I can start with the grows. I think our kids kind of have an idea how to outline the SPO with like the topic sentence. Going back to the text, finding details, and closing out the sentence with a conclusion, or it is clear, or in closing, if they're talking about what's happened first, secondly, next, and they use those SPO outlines in the book to help them. I think a glow definitely is the kids have a more understanding of using the literary text and the informational text to kind of form a clear understanding when it comes to the writing piece. I know the writing isn't a big problem, but more of the reading to understand, reading with like theme and dialogue, things of that nature. The past unit dealt with that, but this unit is more a lot of information. So going back to the American Revolution, they have to either agree or disagree with the outcome of the resolution, or whose side they will go with, George Washington, or will they go with the other British leader. So that's kind of where we stand. So I think more of the grow is reading to really understand two different standpoints or have an opinion about a certain story. Ms. Martin, third grade, what y'all got?
Okay. With third grade, I'll start with the glows. Students are able to identify the characters. They're able to identify the point of view, who's speaking. They're also able to identify sentence structure and transitional words. They are looking for those transitional words such as first, next, then, finally, to help them understand the topic sentence, what can be a supporting sentence, or what can be their closing sentence. The grows would be just putting those in writing form, and also being able to
So-
use our conjunctions, because,
yeah.
but, and so. Kind of
Okay.
remembering because tells why, but shows change of direction, and so tells the result of.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, so definitely, so our goals and growth was great. So our upcoming unit with our study tool, we all looked at that. We kind of have a clear idea of what we will need to do as far as our unit study tool. So let's pull up our study unit tool, okay, for our next unit, and let's look at. According to our agenda, we did our bell ringer, our goals and grows. We do have our unit study tool. So we're going to review the accommodating writing test. Okay, so before we get there, I want to look at the facilitator questions. What questions do we have during our session? Now, we do have some questions that we already put on our parking lot anchor chart. So thank you guys for those questions. I'll read a few of those questions here in a little bit. So let's look at our unit study tool to identify which text will be read. So as we look at our text, okay, obviously we know before we get to the end, we want to plan with our end mind first and work backwards. So we outlined all of the lessons that will really aim towards that committing task, because even some of our optional lessons, they pertain with the community writing test as well. So we don't want to just do the ones that the curriculum asks us to do, because there might be some struggles and that the kids can use with them optional assignments. Okay. So the next steps that we need to take into consideration is that what will we do before or after this session. Okay. So our next unit, the teacher will need to introduce the writing prompt to the students. Now, what is the way? I'll go with Ms. Jones. What's the way how you kind of introduce the writing prompt in your past 2 units, and how do you think you can do it a little bit different?
Okay, I would say my past 2 units, I automatically show them what we're going to be talking about, what it says. So if our accommodating writing test will be like this one, knowing the point of view about the characters, so that based on their view on how they would determine the right which, and being on the absent side. I would basically just, inform them about what point of view is, first of all, and then going on, that will lead to what we will be talking about throughout the unit. So,
Okay.
What I would do differently, I would say, is, I guess, breaking it down so that my students can understand what the question will be asking them. So underlining, some words that they might not know.
Cool.
Of this.
Okay. All right. So I know for 3rd grade, how would you go do yours differently?
First, I would read the text and refer to the culminating writing task.
Oh, that's good. Okay, cool. Okay, so I kind of agree. Even with me, that's one thing I really like. I would do different. I will probably, as we're reading the text, I would definitely do a better job of referencing the coming task. So what I did was, I know we all have our anchor charts. It's all up on our anchors, and they're all hanging in front of the class to see. So what I'm gonna do differently is every day I want to have them read over it. So while we're reading our lessons, every time I go back and I restate the objective or the success criteria, I want to make sure I implement the committed task, because again, that's where we're leading towards in our unit. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, so we read all of our unit text and identify any textual evidence that will help students be successful in accommodating tasks. That's awesome. Okay, so next, our next steps. How about bringing annotations to our next session to identify what lessons activities will be used to support the students to be successful to master the accommodating task. So after we leave today, what we kind of do is during our planning and studying, we can use all of our text that we're reading. We can kind of annotate our lesson plans, annotate our teacher manuals. Here, let's use the highlighted note cards. So highlighted sticky notes. So since we have like blue and green and pink, we'll use the highlight yellow. So if we write all of our annotations down on these, it'll kind of give us a good insight on what lessons are aiming towards that community writing task. Okay, all right, so that's perfect. Good job, guys. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so next, what we're going to do is we're going to identify what the students will need to be successful. So let's outline some student needs as far as their books, as far as any type of pre-writing, any exemplars. So we do have a copy of our example coming in task. So if we can probably just make a copy of it, they can put inside their activity journal. And as we review the task throughout the unit, they can just read over it to have a clear idea of what they'll be talking about. Okay. All right. So we'll do that, and that will go back to our session goal today, is to identify the knowledge and skills students will need in order to be successful with the upcoming unit. Okay. Because I think they really need to see those examples and need to understand what's taking place. So as we go into our independent planning and breaking down our unit study tool, let's pull up our unit accommodating tasks, and let's read over those real quick before we go. Okay. So let's start with third grade this time. So third grade, what will your task be about?
Okay, my students will have to write an opinion, single paragraph outline from the point of view of Napoleon.
Okay, cool. Okay, and as far as fourth grade, according to our unit, fourth grade, we're going to write how are we going to express our understanding by writing a letter from our viewpoint of either we agree with George Washington, the American Revolution, or we're going to agree with King George, who's on the British side of the American Revolution. And this letter must convey the actions of the patriots were and if they were not justified in fighting for their freedom. So that's what the fourth grade will talk about. Fifth grade?
Fifth grade is kind of the same thing as third grade, I would say. We're basically talking about the point of view of between the siblings, Peter, Lucy, Edmund, and Susan, and how they would, be on the side of either the White Witch or Aslan in the text.
Okay, awesome. Okay, good. So now that we have an idea of our community task, let's go ahead and we're gonna pull up our text that we are gonna read. We're gonna pull up our first lesson, and we're gonna pull up our last lesson that goes into the accommodating task, and we're gonna start there and work backwards to see what units that we can really utilize that will help aim towards the accommodating task. Okay, and then we should be good with using that and identifying what students need to be successful in this unit.